Welcome, Libra, to the month of November 2018. I'm Megan of North Star Astrology, and this is another general transits reading for those of you born with your sun, moon, and rising signs in the air sign of Libra. Now, the month starts out with your ruling planet Venus in your first house of the self and body in your sign. Your ruling planet Venus is in Libra, transiting your first house and in your sign, which then proceeds to sextile the moon in Leo in your 11th house of friendships. So from the 11th to the 1st, your ruling planet Venus 60-degree sextiles the moon in Leo, giving you a very emotionally pleasant, positive, and satisfactory feeling. The moon deals with feelings with and through your friendships and or in group events, and you will be seen in those groups as very attractive, as the planet Venus deals with attraction. So you will be looking good. Smile and show those dimples. Then on November 4th, Jupiter in your second house of money and what you value in Scorpio sextiles the moon once the moon comes into your 12th house of dreams and the subconscious mind in Virgo. So now this house is the house of hidden, the hidden matter, or the house of wanting to isolate. Not in a bad way, because we all need to recharge and re-assimilate. However, with Jupiter sextiling the moon in Virgo, once again, this is a very good time to possibly dream of lucky lotto numbers and possibly winning a scratch-off ticket. Okay, and then on November 6th, your ruling planet Venus conjuncts. So there is a 0 to 8 degree conjunction between the moon now in your sign, in your first house, joining along with your ruling planet Venus. And so once again, you will be seen as quite ultra attractive. However, with this moon conjunct Venus, you will want to refrain from being overindulgent. So watch out for overindulging in sweet foods, as also the planet Venus governs sweets. Okay. And then on November 6th as well, the planet Uranus, having been transiting your 8th house in Taurus, at 1901, retrogrades and enters Aries. Now the planet Uranus enters your 7th house of others, partnerships, and relationships in general, especially marriage partnerships and or divorce. It also rules divorce. And with this retrograde, it goes until January 6th, 2019, and it doesn't move back into the sign of Taurus until March 6th, 2019. So it's going to kind of go back and forth here between the two houses of the 7th and the 8th. So with Uranus going into your 7th house, it might have or cause some disruption or sudden proposals, perhaps, if you're single. So that's a good thing. And then also, too, on November 6th, the north node of the moon, which has been transiting your 11th house of friendships, hopes, goals, and wishes, now enters your 10th house of career and the house of the ego and public standing in Cancer at 17 hours 38 minutes. And won't be leaving your 10th house until it enters your 9th and goes or enters the sign of Gemini until May 5th, 2020. So it's going to be taking a while going or spanning the top part of your chart. So, and with the north node of your moon in your 10th house of career, you will or may be able to find fulfillment within your career, as the dragon's head and or the north node of the moon stands for where you want to head, pun intended, dragon's head, where you want to head, and it gives you that fulfillment in wherever it is that you are trying to, or whatever it is you are trying to attain in terms of your career. Then the following day, the new moon occurs in your 2nd house in Scorpio. So at 16 hours 3 minutes, or 15 degrees Scorpio 11 minutes. So now the sun and the moon come together, forming the new moon, and it's time for you to reassess your values, go within. It's a time to go within, and as I'm recording this reading, the new moon is occurring in the month of October, believe it or not. So, and this is always a time when I'm almost feeling like, oh, I need more sleep. I'm feeling tired. And it's just a time where you just kind of go, oh, God, okay, I need to slow down, recharge, go within. And it does. It almost always makes me feel like, okay, it's like the opposite of the energy from the full moon. However, with this new moon, you will feel that the need to reassess, reevaluate how you go about forming and or attaining your financial gains and or reassessing your values, as in what is it truly that you value most. Then on November 8th, Jupiter makes an inconjunct, which is an upside down V with a line over it. Jupiter inconjuncts the planet Uranus. So 5 houses or 5 signs away, Jupiter now makes what is known as, or also known as a quincunx. It's similar to an opposition, somewhat like a square, and it's a challenge to the soul. And as I've seen it written in a longtime friend of mine's natal chart, the only way I know of what a quincunx represents, well, of course, transit-wise, and speaking of which, I don't have one of these for that because it's a very rare, infrequent aspect, but transit-wise, it may make you feel a bit somewhat inferior in terms of, or a sense of a feeling of inadequacy when it comes to making that money or finances, and with it here aspecting Uranus in your 7th house now, temporarily, this is only a temporary aspect, it may make you feel like you're not really towing the line when it comes to earning for or within or for that partnership. You may feel, oh, well, I'm not measuring up so that my partner sees me as someone that has great earning power, or some materialistic notion that the ego tends to give you the illusion of. Don't allow that to happen. Don't even worry about it. It's only a minor setback. And that happens on November 8th. Then, on November 8th as well, I'm trying to grab this. On November 8th as well, Mars squares the new moon. Okay, so the new moon is still building toward the first quarter phase. So Mars in Aquarius in your 5th house of romance and creativity, the action planet, squares the new moon now, making you feel even that much more of, or giving you that much more of an impetus to try to prove yourself and your values and your money, and and again, just go with the flow. Be more like a Pisces and just don't worry about it so much, Try not to worry about this square. It's only a minor challenge to your value system, and it'll just make you feel like you're frustrated, and you don't want that. And so you can in other words, just don't even let that don't let it be an obstacle. Then on November 8th, Jupiter enters your 3rd house and enters the sign of Sagittarius. So now, Jupiter, the planet of luck and the planet that rules Sagittarius, now you will feel the need to communicate a bit too much, because it's going to make you truly talk, possibly with Jupiter in your 3rd house of communications. Or it will possibly bring you luck in short distance travels, luck with siblings, luck with anything basically that's nearby locally to your home base, and as we're gearing toward the home. And that's about it with that one. All I can see is that that's a lot of luck coming into your 3rd house as it's in its ruling position. And then on November 11th, Uranus trines the moon once the moon also enters your 3rd house. And see, Mercury is also here in your 3rd house. Maybe that's why I mentioned so much talking or communicating. Lots of communicating. So the planet Uranus now harmoniously trines the moon in Sagittarius in your 3rd house. So from your 3rd to your 7th houses, you now have this very harmonious, and I do mean very harmonious, as I do believe my moon's in the 9th house, so 1, 2, and my Uranus is in the 1st. So it gives you unique abilities or an unique ability to almost psychically pick up on, in very subtle ways, nuances between how you communicate with your partner or your spouse. This may give you the ability to become one again through very synchronistic communication with your significant other. You know what I mean? Like really deep in I don't know, it's really cool. That's all I can think of. It's a cool placement. Then on November 13th, Uranus squares the moon. Once the moon comes into your, now look at what's going on in the fourth house. Excuse me. Yes, look at this. Saturn, Pluto, now the moon in Capricorn, squaring Uranus in Aries here in your seventh. So from your fourth to your seventh houses, the moon now makes the 90-degree square to Uranus. Now there's a bit of a challenge with the fourth house of the home to perhaps any electronics, as Uranus rules electronic items. So maybe there's disruption emotionally as well as electronically. And then on November 15th, the first quarter phase moon occurs in your fifth house. Let's bring this over here, closer to the moon. Okay, first quarter moon at 14 hours 55 minutes and or 23 degrees Aquarius 11 minutes. First quarter phase moon, sort of like stemming from the new moon. First steps, first quarter phase in Aquarius, the other air sign to you, and in your fifth house of romance and creativity. I don't know how that will affect you on November 15th, but know that in the middle of the month, maybe you'll have a new romance, new phases into your romance. Then on November 15th as well, Mars leaves Aquarius and enters the sign of Pisces in your sixth house of health, work, and service given at 22:22, so 22 hours and 22 minutes. So that's about like, let's see, 13, 14, 15, 16, like around 7 or 8 or something. I should look at the clock. It's like somewhere in the evening, early evening hours, mid-evening hours, when Mars enters Pisces, giving you spiritual undertones to the workforce or the workplace. Maybe you will feel like your work needs to be more spiritually fulfilling to you or for you. Then on November 16th, Uranus sextiles the first quarter moon, now from the 5th to the 7th, giving you that ability to feel out positively and spontaneously, and as I said, almost synchronistically, the feelings feelings, almost like an electric feeling with your significant other. Maybe, like restoring, not necessarily your vows, but your feeling toward that person in much newer ways, valuing your partner more. Then on November 16th as well, your ruling planet Venus goes or stations direct at 10:52 in Libra. Venus stations direct rather than being retrograde, so it helps all of us, every one of us, especially you. Your love life will start picking up. You won't feel so scared, or you won't feel so not indifferent. You won't feel so indecisive about making some kind of decision toward or about some kind of relationship. However, with Uranus here in your 7th house of partnerships in Aries, your opposite sun sign, but there are no aspects between your 1st and your 7th house, just saying, you may still feel a bit indecisive with Uranus here in your 7th house, but that's so good having Venus stationed direct. Then on the following day, November 17th, Mercury goes retrograde, and usually I'm saying it's going direct, but it's not. Mercury is going retrograde. Oh, geez. And it's going retrograde in your 3rd house of communications. Oh, Lord. So this is a very, very important time on November 17th to watch out for signing any documents and making sure that they are read over carefully before you sign anything. And then on November 18th, the sun trines the moon once the moon comes into your 6th house of work, health, and service given. So now you have a gentle and harmonious trine from the sun in Scorpio, still in Scorpio. The sun is still in Scorpio, now harmoniously trining the moon in Pisces, both water signs. So from the 6th to the 2nd house, you may very well have the ability to emotionally tap in to the ability to ask for a raise at work, or possibly a new promotion. And that's a very positive thing. I have a longtime friend that's a Libra, and he tends to work too much. He needs to ask for either some time off or ask for a raise or something already. Gosh, you Librans really need to step up and not be so concerned about others, because this is your ruling house. This is your naturally residing ruling house, the 7th house. You're always concerned about others except for yourself. Think about yourself now and realize that you too matter, and ask for the things you need. Then on November 20th, Uranus conjuncts the moon in your 7th house in Aries. So now, once again, this gives you the feeling that you can suddenly feel quite spontaneous with your significant partner or business partner, even, anything to do with others, you will be spontaneous about doing things and having fun with that, and that's not a bad thing, the conjunction. Then on November 22nd as well, the sun leaves Scorpio, the second, out of your second house of money and what you value, and enters Sagittarius as well, as we're gearing toward the winter time. And so now the sun is in your third house of communications, along with the retrograde Mercury. And let me see when Mercury goes direct. I'm actually very curious as to when Mercury will go direct. When does that go direct? We don't like retrogrades, but however, okay, let's see. Mercury will be going direct on December 6th, 2018. Yahoo! So actually Mercury will be going direct December 6th. So it won't be retrograde for too long, thank goodness. But that's an okay thing, because a lot of planets do go retrograde, and just be mindful, once again, Librans, to be careful about, contracts and reading stuff over carefully. All right, then on November 22nd as well, Pluto, having gone direct finally in your fourth house of the home in Capricorn, trines the moon. Once the moon goes into Taurus in your 8th house, so from your 4th house to your 8th house, you now have this very harmonious trine between how you feel about others' resources and how you feel, but it's going to be harmonious, so how you feel harmoniously with the planet Pluto in your 4th house of the home, giving you the possibility or the sense that others will come forward or step up to the plate, and perhaps from others' resources, in other words, that raise over here or a promotion in your career, giving you the amount of income you need for something to do with the home, possibly for any kind of remodeling project. So that's very good. Then the full moon occurs in Gemini at 5 hours 40 minutes at 0 degrees Gemini, 52 minutes in your 9th house of religion and philosophy, law, higher learning, long distance travels. And this then gives you the feeling that you can shed or illuminate light on the need to, or you may need to perhaps travel even more with through your transportations, or you may go on a long distance vacation. Then on November 25th, Neptune stations direct at 1:09 in your 6th house of health, work, and service given in Pisces. That's going to help very much. It'll help with stopping the illusions of too much burden being put on you in terms of how you feel, what's being put on your shoulders. You won't feel so much like you're trudging through mud. Instead, you will be feeling more balanced once Neptune goes direct. Same is said with when Mars entered there. Then on November 25th as well, Uranus sextiles that waning full moon. So from your 7th to your 9th houses, Uranus sextiling the moon, the waning full moon, giving you, or will give you, the feeling or the sense that you are doing something positive with your significant other or business partners. And then on November 27th, Uranus squares the moon once the moon comes into your 10th house of the house of career and the ego. So be mindful of any kind of emotional outbursts with business partners, co-workers, in other words, in whatever career it is that you're dealing with, especially since it's around the holidays. By the way, happy Thanksgiving. And so you may feel on edge, emotionally feeling like you're scattered. Be mindful of that, and don't worry about it. Just be mindful of it, and because like right around Thanksgiving, this is right around Thanksgiving actually. So happy Thanksgiving with this. Despite this square, things will be okay and look up. Then too, on November 29th, Jupiter in Sagittarius now makes a semi-square, which is a 45-degree angle like that. And I don't have one of those either because it's a very infrequent aspect. But Jupiter semi-squares the planet Pluto, so very close to each other. This very short, close-by aspect creates, largely creates communications that are either insightful or maybe perhaps somewhat, I don't know if I'd say, maybe intense. Something intensifies within your home. And then on November 29th, Uranus trines the moon. Once the moon comes full circle in Leo, and because Uranus is in Aries for a time, now the moon in Leo harmoniously trines Uranus. So with the moon in Leo again coming full circle in your 11th house of friendships, hopes, goals, wishes, you now have the ability to emotionally, harmoniously interact, perhaps taking your significant other to a group event and enjoying it like a family gathering. And then finally, the last quarter moon occurs in your 12th house in Virgo at 7 degrees Virgo 43 minutes, or at 0 hours 20 minutes. The last quarter moon occurs. So this ends up your reading. Last quarter phase moon ends up being in your 12th house of needing some peace and quiet and time to go within, as you've been a busy bee and worked very hard all year. Especially this month, November's going to be a big, busy month for you Librans. Anywho, I hope you enjoyed this reading. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, comment down below, and or feel free to subscribe. Thanks for looking up upon the North Star. And if you haven't noticed by now, yes, I do have or had my hand surgery. I do get my stitches out on October 10th, thankfully. There's only 3 stitches under here, but it looks unsightly, so I think it's better to keep this on my hand. And I'm praying that it doesn't get any worse. because I've been told I have a 99% chance of Dupuytrens Contracture, which means that my fingers will eventually start going like this, and that's not cool. Not fun at all, but however, I'm fighting it. I'm gonna think positive. That's all I can do. Thinking positive. And until we see each other again, you are here, and have a very wonderful, happy Thanksgiving and rest of the year. And until we see each other in December, take care. Bye.